You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois, December 29th, 2022, Thursday, 11 p.m. And we are continuing our marathon epic playthrough of The Queen's Park Affair, an expansion for Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, released originally in 1984 or so, reprinted. We're playing the original. This is day 4 of our playthrough. We're still in the middle of day 3 in the game. There are 4 game days, 4 investigative game days, and then on the 5th day you solve it. So this case has turned out to be longer, bigger, harder, more overwhelming than I expected. So let's talk about our plans for tonight, tomorrow, and so on. We've so far played 3 7-hour streams. Today we're going to do a half-length stream, so maybe we'll play for 3 hours or so. And perhaps we'll do the same on tomorrow. We may have a full day tomorrow. I'm not sure. But I think our goal should probably be to slow down a little bit, because this has been overwhelming. AJ Hunter is in the chat and said he did warn me that I was being optimistic, thinking that this case could be solved in 3 days or so. Okay, so here's what I think maybe our plan should be. I think we're going to have to continue after New Year's. So we're going to play tonight, tomorrow, and then we're going to take a break. We're going to take Saturday off, and then we're going to meet up again on January 1st, Sunday. Sunday will be a busy day because I've got the blinded birder play-by-mail case, but the plan is going to be to meet up again Sunday. So I think, and we'll have Saturday off as a thinking break, I think what we should probably try to do, pacing-wise, is just finish day 3 by the end of Friday. That gives us today and tomorrow to finish the second half of day 3, which should be no problem at all, and give us plenty of time to have shorter sessions and to chat. That way, when we come back on Sunday, we can start off day 4 and have the full day 4 experience after the break. And remember, that's our bonus day. In the reprint, there are only 3 days that you spend investigating. So I think that would be a better time to break rather than get into the middle of day 4 and take a break on Friday, and rather than try to rush and get day 4 finished on Friday. I think a good place to break would be the end of day 3. So we can relax a bit now. We've just got the second half of day 3 to finish. We've got 2 days to do it in, 2 half sessions. And where we have extra time, I think we'll just spend sitting maybe a little more quietly, calmly, thinking about some of the more dense clues. We've got this whole coded message that we don't know if the game's going to explain to us or not, or if it's up to us to decrypt it. We've got cab logs, so I think that will be our plan. Maybe if we have extra time today, tomorrow, we'll spend that looking at the evidence and maybe looking at the cab logs, etc. All right. So let's catch up with the chat. Has anyone been up to anything interesting? And then when we start, what we'll do today is I'll just look at the introduction to day 3 again. I'll remind us what has happened on day 3, and then we'll go over some of the notes updating we've done. All right. Assuming there's nothing new in the chat. You guys got to have stuff ready for me if you're going to talk about it. Okay. So day 3. Let's recap what happened. Day 3, we got a letter from Franklin Kearney, that was presumptively the entire point of this case at the start, was to find Kearney, who's gone missing. And now we get a letter from him. It says, hey, I'm fine. I just got to go out of London for business. I'll be back. I'll explain it all. Don't worry about it. And then Holmes reminds us to not miss going to the coroner and to check out the Central News Agency. And he says, Isn't that the obituary service, says Watson, and Holmes says, yeah, it is. To that end, their files are quite comprehensive with regards to a certain class, that is. It's not so much obituaries. It's a place that has collects information about important people so that when they die, they can print their obituaries. And we went there and we learned about more people. So Franklin Kearney says he's fine. We went to his wife Alice to see if she had gotten a similar letter. Indeed, she had. She said, he called me by my special nickname, so I know it's him. I recognize the handwriting. It's his. He says he's fine, but I think someone forced him to write it and he's in danger. That's what Alice says. Is it true? Is he in danger? Is he just hiding out and wants to make it look like nothing's wrong? We don't know. We don't know if someone forced him to write it or not. We know there are people forcing people to do things around town. It one thing that just occurred to me, and almost certainly not the case, but it did occur to me that, remember, yesterday we get this letter, this mysterious letter from Vincent Derrick saying, the recent report of my death has greatly upset me. Come investigate it. Vincent Derrick. It did occur to me that, like, should we be checking if these handwritings are the same? Like the letter from Vincent Derrick. Actually, we've got three. We've got writing from Lloyd Perkins, who we found dead. That's the other thing that happened on day 3. We found him dead. We've got writing from Vincent Derrick, who's dead, and now Franklin Kearney, who's missing. It occurred to me, should we be comparing handwriting to see if this, she says this is really Franklin Kearney's handwriting, so we know it's his, but is it possible that Franklin Kearney wrote this? Is it his handwriting? I don't think it is, but that D is pretty similar. Not quite, though. No, it's not similar. It's not the same. Okay, so what else happened on day 3 besides this letter from Franklin Kearney saying, don't worry about me? I made some copies of some of our evidence so we wouldn't forget to look at it. Here's our copies of the 2 articles that Kearney was looking at, July 6th, July 9th. One of the big connections we realized was that Vincent Derrick went missing right in the middle of these 2, not in the middle, sorry, but in the same month, in July. We learned about his death. He was killed in Queen's Park. He was killed, whoops. He went to a hotel, the Queen's Park Hotel, which is here. He went to this hotel, was found dead the next morning in his slippers in the canal with a head injury. We know the next morning he had an important meeting, and we know he was involved in the lands allotment company. So we suspect he was killed by Balfour or Moriarty, who we think is competing with Balfour, but we suspect that this is not an unrelated issue. Although the daughter Rose thinks that maybe the wife was up to no good and had him killed to get his money. But the coincidence of him being involved in the Queen's Park real estate is too high. We also got the news for this day, the Police Gazette, and we learned a bunch of interesting things. Here's a story about Vincent Derrick, the guy who wrote us saying he's upset about his accident, telling us he had a business meeting the next day. But we also have a new body found. Also in the same canal, it's like a Chinatown vibe, the same canal in Queen's Park that Vincent Derrick was found. Well, today, that was in July, but today a new body is found near the gasworks. And there was a witness. When we went to Meeks, we were surprised. Anna says she knows who wrote Derrick's note. Okay, I haven't seen that yet. We're gonna get back to that in a minute. Hold that thought. The new body when we went to the coroner, it turns out it's Peter Northrop. Peter Northrop was the counterfeiter who was broken out of prison during the cricket match diversion. So someone has killed Peter Northrop. And the witness recognized the wagon that threw out the body in the middle of the night as belonging to Shank's Brewery. We know they're involved in some nefarious stuff. So we've got a good lead on who killed Peter Northrop, but not why. It does seem like this whole thing is a battle of turfs between maybe Moriarty and Belfour's group. So that was that. Then we got this other case of this murder-suicide of a woman that seems unrelated. Now, while visiting other people, someone else gets killed. Lord Goodwin, who was evacuating London because he was scared about the explosions, was killed in an explosion. His carriage was blown up at Victoria Station, and the criminologist, I guess who's Meeks, one of them, I forget which one, where Murray and Meeks is, but he says that the explosives used to blow up Lord Goodwin was very rare. Same base chemical used in the diversionary smoke bomb at the cricket game, but it can only be found, it's a new French recipe, and a whole bunch of it was stolen 6 weeks ago from the French government, which makes us also think Moriarty. And a bunch of people in the chat channel said they thought that meant that was a sort of foreshadowing that there were going to be more explosions because a big supply was stolen. And I'm not so sure. I mean, that was 6 weeks ago that they stole it. They may just be using it to kill people. But it's obviously in London, some of it, but I don't know if it necessarily means there's going to be more explosions. And I think that's basically where we left off Wednesday. Is there anything, where we left off yesterday in the middle of day 3. Is there anything more from day 3 that I haven't covered? Let's see. Vincent Derrick's daughter had a note he wrote about someone threatening to sue because a horse was killed in the excavation pit in his land, which we're quite curious to maybe go look at. So we've got another sample of his writing. The daughter says the writing is the same as the note that we got. We wondered if maybe it wasn't the daughter writing both notes to get us to investigate it, because she's definitely wants it investigated. Okay, so I made copies. I made copies of the biography information of different people. Lloyd Perkins is the guy who's got killed, who was going to give us evidence. And this is actually interesting. He was the head accountant at Shank's Brewery. So he was an accountant. That might lead further weight to the idea that his coded message was account information. Here is his coded message. We need to go to Porlock to see if Porlock can give us any hints about that. He also had a schedule, Brandy at 11, and he was killed maybe around 11. So we think maybe Brandy is Sir Brandon Miller, and that maybe that be the killer, but we haven't been able to find Brandon Miller yet. This was the robbery at the jewelry store, but we think we know all that. I guess that's the other thing that happened on day 3. We finally caught up with Don Mills, who was the one escaping robber, and we found him with his girlfriend, his fiancée, right after he had been nearly beaten to death by a boxer who stole the jewels back for Belfour, and we know now that that's Colin Kennedy, a big giant Irish boxer who works for Belfour and is loyal to him, and has been breaking people's fingers trying to get back the jewels that the people stole from him while he was pawning it. And he's planning to leave town to Dublin. So we've got that little piece of our mystery wrapped up. We know it was a fake robbery at Belfour's house. Belfour tried to pawn the jewelry at Lambert's. An inside man at Lambert's had his 2 other crooks come. They stole it. They hit Colin over the head, they stole it, and then Colin's been on a rampage to get that jewelry back, and he's killed a whole bunch of people, 2 people and nearly this guy, and he did get it back. Okay, now let's catch up on the chat and see what I missed. And what Anna was saying. First of all, Anna thinks she knows about who wrote Derek's letter. Is it going to be the daughter? Let's see. You could also figure it out. Just look at the note and the letter about the horse at the same time. Okay, let's do that. So here's the letter about the horse that Vincent is writing, but didn't mail it, I guess. The daughter has it. I forget where she tells us she got it. We're told that Vincent had other evidence, but she didn't give it to us. Okay, and then Anna says, compare that to his original letter. Okay. So it looks completely identical looks completely identical in handwriting. Dear Sir looks exactly the same. Sincerely signed exactly the same. So, and we know this is July 18. Okay, we don't know when this one was sent. This just confirms it's both Vincent's handwriting or both Rose's handwriting. And it says, now pay special attention to the wording. Okay, dear sir, the recent report of my death has greatly upset me. Greatly upset me. My death was not accidental. I hope you will investigate it. Greatly upset me. Okay. I've received report of the death of your horse, and I understand you have been greatly upset. I hope you will investigate it. I do sincerely hope you will reconsider. Okay, so I'm not sure I'm following. Oh, 6 weeks prior would be mid-July. It's September. August, July, yes, okay. All right, so Anna, it sounds like the same person wrote both of these, but they're pretending to be from the same person, so I'm not sure how that sheds light on it. What am I missing? Are you saying each word can be found? The recent report of my death, are you saying report, recent? I see. Are you saying these are exactly traced? That's what Jonathan is saying. Jonathan's saying, is your theory that one was traced? All words are from the horse letter, says Anna. I think the daughter just copied those words. I see. So you're saying the words are going to be exactly identical, so that report is traced from this exact report. This is exactly the same report thing, and that the dear sir is exactly the same, not just copied, but basically like traced. So you're saying this new one is going to be every single word was copied directly from this. So his signature is exactly the same. Basically traced. Okay. Well, we definitely held open the possibility that Rose wrote both of them. But now Anna is saying here's a more clever, subtle thing. This one was written by Vincent, and then she created this one by actually tracing out his exact handwriting. And is recent exactly the same? The recent... Recent looks like it could be slightly different, but I take your point that it sounds like these others are exactly the same. All right, I've got to let my cat in. This post date of July 18th is very confusing to us. It makes no sense why it would be post dated on the 18th. So the fact that this was post dated on the 18th makes no sense to me. I don't know. All right, but I've got to go let my cat out. So hold on here. All right, so I think Anna has a good point. Or this is a mistake by the game makers. I don't know. It certainly seems very possible that this is Rose. It would also make sense too, right? She thinks if she writes it, they won't pay attention to her because she's already tried to get the sergeant to be interested in her case. And she thinks it needs to be reinvestigated, so it makes sense that she would do it. Anna says the daughter could have used an old envelope. There is something actually interesting about it, isn't there? And that I was gonna say, is the typing the same? I'm not sure why she would do that, but let's just put that aside for now. I mean, you shouldn't be able to mail an old envelope that's already been postmarked and stamped. So I don't know, but let's just put that aside for a second. That's a totally separate thing. And Megan says, Rose did try to get us to pay attention to the handwriting in his letters. Clearly she was paying attention to that. Okay. Well, it's a very reasonable thing to think that she wrote this letter asking us to get involved. It's not our biggest mystery, though. I mean, it would help explain why we have access to this. Okay, there's that. What else? Let's put this in our evidence. What else do we need to catch up on? I've gone through and updated our set of what we know about where each place is. We know a bunch of them, but there's still a bunch of places that we don't know what they're related to. And we have our list of places we still want to go, with the ones marked by dashes being ones that change tomorrow that we'll want to see if we can get to. And it's, according to my log, 4:45 p.m. on day 3. Okay, anything else we need to talk about before we get started? And it says, Sergeant Tompkins thought Derek's death a suicide first because of the note. It turned out to be for a meeting, perhaps a resignation. Where is this note? It's not the one Rose gave us. It's absolutely true. We don't know how to get hold of that. Although he did say to come back when we have more information. I wonder if he's ready for us to come back. We do kind of have more information. Have we visited him yet? I think that might have been a lie, though. Because I see he doesn't change what he says. Where is that resignation note? That's very strange. And Tina says, the other question is, was he killed by his wife and doctor or for his enrollment in the land business? It seems very coincidental. It's hard to believe the wife and doctor did it because of a whole bunch of things. Number one, he wasn't killed in London where the wife and doctor have access to him. And the doctor, you would think, could poison him, could do other things to him. Instead, he's killed while he's out of town at a hotel with people that are capable of moving the body out of the hotel. It just does not sound like a wifely murder. Although I did locate the doctor's address. He lives across the street, so I know the doctor's name. And if we are interested in Vincent Derrick, we could go talk to the medium that Rose Derrick says she spoke to, and spoke to him through the medium. It seems like maybe a fun place to go anyway. She's got an address in the phone book, so we can visit that. And it says there was to be a meeting on Saturday. That's right, but we couldn't get into it. We don't know anything about it. Derrick gave his suit and boots to the valet. No one saw him leave the hotel, but his room wasn't disturbed. That's all. These are all true facts. We don't know how he got out. We don't know if his body was taken out. We don't know why his body would be taken out. We also don't know if this horse death thing is a real thing. I believe we have some informants about legal cases that we are remiss in not going to sooner. So that should be at the top of our list. Is there, Anna helped fill out more timeline stuff. I do think we should consider if one of these Marleybone people is being blown up, we should maybe start checking in on the others because we have not visited a bunch of them yet. And I started making a list of things we want to do. I had a thought that maybe Bradford, remember that Lady Bradford had the illegitimate son through Reginald Ormond? I thought maybe we should look and see if there's any other Bradfords living in, this is Belfour's wife. It just occurred to me that maybe there's a Bradford son, illegitimate, that we should be somewhat concerned about. Probably not, but it's a thought. No Bradford. Okay. Bon March, we still haven't been to. We haven't been to Middlesex Hospital where Don Mills is recuperating. We haven't been to the Bank of London where those codes might be from, so I'm very interested in that. We think the betting slips might be related to a boxing gambling, and we now have a place we might go to about that. There is the excavation site, maybe in Queen's Park, that could be relevant, that could have information for us. We could return to Pinkerton's. We could talk to some more of our allies, which I'm keen to do. The remaining Marleybone people. The Taylors, seems like we don't need that. That's just to find Don Mills, and we've already found him. He's in the hospital. Millbank Prison, I think that's probably irrelevant for us too. Then we've got this other guy, Darte, who's a member of the commission we haven't talked to. I think I am curious to talk to more members of the commission because that's one of our big mysteries to figure out, were they on opposite sides of it? Lord Sipton, Pearl Insurance, those parts are probably not that relevant. Okay, John says, have we been to the library yet? Maybe we can get more information on the specialists, but we haven't been to Lomax at the library. We haven't been to Somerset House on births and deaths. I think one of those isn't in this game. I think it might be Somerset, but I absolutely agree that we should go to our other allies to look for legal cases. Absolutely, and the library. So I think allies for sure. Let's look at what places are going to change today that we haven't been to. A couple places we don't know. Mycroft changes today. Scotland Yard changes today. We haven't been to. Parliament is changed today. We haven't been to. Langdale changes today. We haven't been to. A couple of the Marleybone people change that we haven't been to yet. Porky changes. We haven't been to him yet. Disraeli O'Brien, the foreign affairs guy, has changes. We haven't been to him yet. So a bunch of our allies change. Is there anyone we have to worry about for... Megan says, I'm still thinking Porlock is pretty low-hanging fruit. We have to go to Porlock because we think Moriarty's involved, and he's the Moriarty guy, and we have a cipher. So I think maybe we should spend some time today just going to our allies. It seems like they're useful. The only thing that I'm a little scared about, is there anything that's time-sensitive? Because I'm worried about those Marleybone people getting blown up in this gang war. So I think I'd like to go to them first and then go to our allies. So if I look at my list here of the Marleybone people, we've got next on my list here is we've got David Sadler. I really want to talk to him, but he doesn't change. But Byron Anderson does. Which one is Byron Anderson? I'm interested in all of these people that could get themselves killed. These members of parliament, we've already got one disappeared and one dead. And then the Marleybone people, we've got Miller Brandon, who won't talk to us, Vincent Needham, who is Byron Anderson, the captain. Let's just start there. Anna says, regarding the cipher, there was a newspaper on the fort beside Lloyd, so I thought, could the cipher relate to that? Moriarty is known to communicate through the paper. Were we told what paper it was? That's very intriguing information, idea. Let's see, where did we find Perkins? We made a note of it in our dense clues notes. We've got 18 pages of notes here. Kind of crazy how many notes we have. Okay, the Lloyd Perkins note was at 152. So here was the note we found. Encoded notes. Let's see what it says. We made a copy of it. On the floor to the right of the desk is an inkwell that has been spilled. Ink is soaking into the rug. Covers a London Times that lies nearby. Wow, that's a good observation, Anna. A London Times that lies nearby. Well, we know someone who works at the Times, Henry Ellis, but none of our papers, Pall Mall Gazette. We do have a London Times. So that code could be in reference to the London Times. Absolutely could be. All right, well, something to keep in mind. That's a good observation. Very good observation. Book about the devil. Daredevil won the horse race. Fixed betting thing. Yeah, could be. All right, so I think we're going to spend today just visiting some places, but I want to visit them in order of the people most likely to be killed first. So I don't think our informants should wait a bit until we visit the people we know might be subject for murder. And the first one I see is Byron Anderson, who is the captain of Marleybone. So can we go there, or do you want to talk for a little bit more? Jonathan says, from a meta perspective, it might make sense as well. There was a lot of relevant articles in. There was not a lot of relevant articles. Jonathan makes a great point. In the Times art newspaper for day 2, there was almost nothing related to our case. So Jonathan's saying it would make sense if the code stuff was all found here. Well, we spend days on Gaslight's code, and I don't want to get too distracted by this one until we're ready to do it, and I think we need to talk to Porlock first. So we will work on that code for as long as it takes. Okay, Byron Anderson, who's at 27 EC. Let me mark him and go to him. We talked to Brian at the cricket club. Yes, we did. This is his home, I think. I believe this is his home. Okay, so 4:45. I just don't want more of these people getting killed before we get a chance to visit them. They should be good and scared now after one of their members gets blown up, right? All right, so 271 gives us a choice. Are we here to visit Byron Anderson, or are we here about Sir Galahad's pub? Well, we don't know anything about Galahad's pub, so Byron Anderson is who we want. 223. Day 3, 223. He says, "Yep, I'm Byron Anderson. What can I do for you?" asked the elderly gentleman. "Excuse me," says Williams. "I think perhaps we have the wrong Byron Anderson. We're looking for the gentleman who plays on the Marleybone Cricket Club team. Perhaps he's a relation?" "No, I'm afraid I don't know the man, but I can assure you I am not he." "Sorry to bother you." Okay. So, Byron Anderson, you can only meet at the club. Fine. Okay, 4:55 p.m. All right, so we can get that one. That one's off our list. Now, here's something kind of interesting. This you could consider a bit of a cheat, but I want to get your impression on it. So, on day 2, Derek Vincent sent us his letter, right? So follow me here. On day 2, Derek Vincent letter we got, right? Saying I'm upset about my death. So we looked up Derek Vincent in the directory. And we went to his house, 166. Okay. When we go to 166, it asks us if we're there to visit Vincent Derrick or Arnold Shank. They both live in the same area, which is also suspicious. We visit both of them, but when we go to visit Vincent Derrick, we see this. "Vincent Derrick no longer lives here. He's dead, you know. Do you know him?" "No, we bought the house from his widow." "Do you know where she lives now?" And he gets us the address of the daughter and the and the widow. But now, the thing to know is that address changes. Oh, maybe it's because we can visit the Shanks differently. Because on day 3, it's a different lookup. I think we're going to go back to this address. 217. I want to see. Is it because now we can only visit the Shanks? Is it because if we want to visit Derek, we go to 97. Which is the same one. Okay, so that doesn't change. But if we want to visit the Shank guy, it's 214. Okay, so this is Arthur Shank's house. So yesterday, just trying to understand the difference here. Yesterday when we went here, and we visited Arnold Shank, it sent us to a place where yesterday it sent us to 174. Yesterday we sent us to someone saying Mr. Shank's not in. He's probably at his brewery, or he might be at Parliament or Mr. Ormond's office. We say, where's the brewery? And it gives us the address. So if we go back there today, though, and try Shank again, this is also Shank's address, Arnold Shank's. So if we go by today, we have another choice of who to visit. And Derek gives us the same old house, but Shank gives us 214. And 214, it looks like we can actually catch Arnold Shank. So let's see what that's about. Says, yes, I'm Arnold Shank. Come in. I only have a few minutes, but I shall be glad to help you if I can. We're interested in the Parliamentary Commission on the Beer Act. We understand you've taken an active role in the proceedings. That I have, sir, but perhaps you could be more specific in your interest. Wiggins starts to ask about the temperance movement, but he thinks better of it as he remembers the tales we have heard of Mr. Shank's explosive temper. Well, he begins somewhat tentatively, what can you tell us about Sir Henry Cole and Reginald Ormond? Astounding that it should come to murder, I should say, although not altogether unexpected. What do you mean? Well, they're always at each other's throats, those two were. They would argue about anything, whether it concerned the Commission's business or not. I suppose you know about their confrontation back in the 60s. I don't mean to gossip. You want facts, I'm sure. We were led to understand that you and Mr. Ormond have very different views on the subject of alcohol and its place in society, and that your arguments could become quite bellicose. Yes, it's true. We do disagree when it comes to alcohol, but there's nothing personal in our arguments. Our arguments relate to politics and to business. I have the utmost respect for Reginald Ormond. Now, you really must excuse me. I'm very busy. Good day. Well, roundabout way, though, but we did discover something new here. It's now 5:10. What did we discover new here? We've been wondering quite a bit about what the political positions of these MPs are. And now we know Shank is a brewer, right? So now we understand that Reginald Ormond was anti-alcohol. That's important, right? He's being framed for this murder. He's the anti-alcohol guy. One of the MPs who's against alcohol, right? Does anyone disagree with that reading? And it sounds like Reginald Ormond and Henry Cole probably disagreed. So Henry Cole might be for the alcohol or against the Beer Act, etc. And it says, about Cole's murder, I never did understand why they chopped off the head. They wanted to implicate Ormond, they should have used a more orthodox method. It's like a message or something. Yeah, I think you got a point. That sounds like they're trying to send a message to Cole. I'm not sure if we visited Cole's house, to be honest. I've got his address here, and I don't think we visited it. Let me update my directory here to say that 90 EC is also Arthur Shank's home, so we don't get that wrong again. Shall we just follow this lead up a little and visit Henry Cole's home, 77 EC, while we're at it? Let's do it, even though he's not going to change. So 76 EC is $76 at this hotel here. The Metro. What does that say? Can't read it on the bad camera. It's called the Menborough Hotel. Okay, let's see what we find out about Henry Cole, 96. We probably should have come here as soon as he was discovered dead. All right. Thomas Cole receives us in the drawing room of his father's home. His eyes are red and his sorrow is easily read on his face. I've been up all night trying to understand what happened, and I can't make sense out of it. I know Father and Ormond did not like each other, but murder? I can't believe it. Your father and Ormond were working together, as I understand it. Yes, they were both on the Royal Commission studying the brewing industry. Their report was to go to Parliament next month when the debate starts on the brewery bill. Do you have any idea why Ormond would want to murder your father? No, not at all. Like I said, they don't like each other, but they've worked together in the past. They were grown men, not children. Do you know why they did not get along? Well, many reasons, politics mainly. They were both members of Parliament in the 60s, and my father was instrumental in keeping him out of the cabinet. I don't know the details. Who else was on the commission? Well, Sir Winston Dart, Arnold Shank, and Glenn Judson. Okay, so we've talked to Arnold Shank just now. I don't believe we've ever talked to Winston Dart yet, but I know where he lives. And Glenn Judson is the guy who's at the Theakston Brewery, which I don't think we've been to that place either. All right, so we went to Thomas Cole, who is at 77 EC, went to 96 plus 30 minutes. It's now 5:40 p.m. All right, where would you like to go next? Jonathan had an interesting idea. Maybe Cole's alive and they faked his death. If so, he's letting his son suffer terribly. We've been to... It's hard to remember where we've been on any given day, but we have been to Meeks and Murray today, right? We were at Meeks. And we were at Murray. According to... Okay, so we've been to the coroner and the criminologist. We haven't been to Peter Northrop's house. All right, but let's do one thing at a time. Let's follow up with these MPs. So there's 2 more people on the commission. Let's talk to them before they get killed. Okay, Winston Dart. Where did we leave him? Let's talk to him. Let's follow up one thing at a time. Let's do this commission. Winston Dart is at 56 Southwest. Let's do that. Southwest. This is Dart. At this point, if anyone's in danger of being killed, it's getting late in the day for us to save them. But no one in the channel has spoken up about anyone they're worried about. Okay, Winston Dart. This is the first time we're talking to him. It looks like he's got lots to say. Terrible affair, terrible affair. Sir Winston Dart is in his late 40s, 5 feet 10 inches in height, weighs 280 pounds. His ruddy complexion seems to be turning redder the more he recounts his experiences with Cole and Ormond. A parliamentary commission was established to come up with recommendations for a new beer law. From the start, what was thought to be a very simple process turned into a pitched battle. Most unpleasant affair all around. Can you tell us about it? You say you work for Holmes. Everything I tell you will be kept confidential? Yes, we can guarantee that. Good. I don't want to be responsible for more gossip. Have you read Pike's column? What trash. From the very beginning, there was dissension on the committee, and it did revolve around Cole and Ormond. Their views were in opposition to each other. But remember, what our commission came up with were merely recommendations to Parliament, not the law itself. And we all knew that. Ormond wanted the complete prohibition of alcohol. Cole wanted tighter controls and higher taxes. Both Cole, this is important, and Cole just wanted higher alcohol taxes. Okay. Both Cole and Ormond are MPs and are used to debating different points of view on issues. There were other positions as well. Arnold Shank, the brewer, wanted fewer controls and lower taxes. Okay, this is all very important. Finally, we're figuring out what everyone's position was. So Henry Cole. Let's see. Ormond wanted complete prohibition. Cole wanted tighter controls, higher taxes. higher taxes. And then Shank wants less control and less taxes. Glenn Judson of Theakston's was concerned with competition from abroad and wanted import taxes raised. Glenn Judson wanted increased import taxes. I have no strong views on the issue, but I want to see a good, well-balanced law that will benefit the public as a whole. This is a very complex issue. So you don't see the murder as being related to their work on the committee? No. There may have been personal antagonism between them that I was unaware of. I was not close to them. I was not close to them personally. The big conflict on the committee was between Shank and Ormond. Obviously, a brewer and a prohibitionist don't have many things in common when it comes to how society should approach the regulation of alcohol. When was the last time you saw Cole and Ormond? I saw Reggie Wednesday. We, the commission that is, had planned to meet for lunch at Ye Old Cheshire Cheese, but Henry never showed. The rest of us were there, and the meeting was much the same as usual, and ended with Reggie and Shank just short of blows. Thank you, Sir Whiston. You can rely on our discretion. All right, so he told us what everyone's position is. And what's his position? He just wants balance. Ormond wants total prohibition. Cole wants just higher taxes for more profit. And one is being framed for the murder of the other. Shank wants less control so his brewery can profit. And Glenn Judson is worried about competition from abroad. Wants higher import taxes. Have we tried to talk to him yet? He's in Queen Park. I know. He's at 95. We haven't talked to him yet. Shall we finish tying a bow on this? And get his view. He's at number 3 QP. 10 p.m. He's at 95 QP, which is 3. Here's Glenn Judson. We're wrapping up our understanding of the commission and stuff. Glenn Judson greets us with a powerful handshake, confirming the impression of strength which the middle-aged man's compact body and steel-gray eyes convey. The dark, yeasty atmosphere of the brewery is palpably present. We're interested in the relationship of the breweries, pubs, and the temperance movement. We were wondering what you might be able to tell us about your business. Sounds like that newspaper article. What more do you want to know? We say, does Balfour's decision to keep pubs out of his Queen's Park Garden development adversely affect your business? Well, I'm not especially happy about it, but it really doesn't hurt me too much. There are still plenty of pubs. There are now and there will be next year. All this means is that they'll all pop up on the fringes of this new development. That's what happened in Shaftesbury Park and Knoll Park. That's what'll happen here. Besides, most of my customers are not in Queen's Park anyway. Competition's a bit... Oh, here he is talking. Competition's a bit stiffer these days. It's tougher on the pubs. And there are brewery owners like the Shank brothers who don't always play fair, who'll do anything to get what they want. What do you mean? Well, I don't have any hard evidence, mind you. But I think they've carried this buying up of the independents a bit far. I know this one pub owner, I'm not naming any names here, who refused to sell. Next week he was discovered in his cellar dead under a pile of beer casks. Death by accidental cause, the coroner ruled. Bit suspicious, I say. He handled those books all by himself for 30 years. Then the week after, he doesn't sell, dead as a doorknob. Dead as a doornail. Do you have any idea what recommendations the Parliamentary Brewery Commission will issue next month when they make their findings public? Nope. You know, I don't have anything against the teetotalers. They have a right to their opinion. What I don't like is people trying to tell other people what to do or not to do. Plus 30 minutes. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We got a bunch of useful information, actually. First, we know now that the Shanks are brothers. We met one of them, and the other one is at the brewery, Martin. We just met Arnold. That was Martin, is the other one. And he tells us that they are dangerous, that they will kill people who won't sell them property. They're buying up the independents. He also gives us a little real estate lesson. He says Balfour's decision to keep pubs out is not a big deal. There's plenty of pubs, and they'll just pop up on the fringes of the development. Is that the scheme? You keep them out of one area and you buy up the other, you buy up the pubs around the surrounding area because they'll do even better business? Is that the idea? Refuse to sell. Dead in the cellar. Accidental. They made it look like an accidental death. He tells us the Shanks are criminals buying pubs, buying the independent pubs. And he tells us about Balfour prohibition in QP means pubs around the fringes. All right. Let me see what the chat makes of all this. And it says there were thugs at the Shank Brewery last time we went in there. He doesn't seem to think prohibition's a real concern. Have we been back to the Shank Brewery today? Is that where we saw the gang members? Where is the Shank Brewery? That was at 4. We have been to the Shank Brewery today. Anna was reminding us there were thugs there. Let's take a look at that clue again. As we step into a small area of Shank's Brewery, however, we meet with a most uncordial reception. A very gruff-looking, gruff-voiced man stops us. What's your business? We'd like to speak with Arnold Shank. We have a few questions. Mr. Shank's not in. When will be a good time? There is no good time. With that, he pushes us out, none too gently. All right, so they won't talk to us. We know Martin got red-faced there last time we were here. Okay. Looking at yesterday, it looks like we might go back and talk to Maud Vincent again. Do we want to finish following up the MP Brewery stuff? Is there any place more to go to for brewery? Anna says, we heard at the stock exchange that two big shots are trying to buy up the little breweries. Where was the stock exchange? It was down in southeast area somewhere. Or was it EC? Where was the stock exchange? Suppose I could just look it up again. I just want to see if it's worth traveling back to the stock exchange. I thought I had it clearly marked. 22 EC. 22 EC is the stock exchange, yes. 22 EC hasn't changed. Okay, so that's still the same. No. It looks to me like Lloyd Perkins, who we found dead, has a different entry. Maybe we should go to Lloyd Perkins's house again. 259. That's the guy we found dead. Let's see if there's something new for us to read there. We stop back in his house and look for more clues. So if you go back to Lloyd Perkins' house, it just gives you two choices. We can either go to Lloyd Perkins, which is 199, or the Sporting Times has an office there apparently. 77. Seems like we should probably go to both of them, right? I think 199 is going to be probably the same entry we saw before. Or maybe just the police won't let us in. Okay, so here's 199 if you go back to Lloyd Perkins' house. Or if you got here too late, maybe. As we walk up to the door of Lloyd Perkins' house, we see the all too familiar sign, premise sealed, police investigation, CID, Scotland Yard. Hey, can't you read? We turn up and see a constable charging up the walkway. We want to see Lloyd Perkins. Well, then you better go to the morgue. Perkins was murdered yesterday afternoon. Constable removes a notebook from his back hip pocket and a pencil from his vest pocket. Now, give me your names for the record. Inspector Lestrade wants to know about anyone who comes here. That's good police work. Okay. And then if we want to go to the sporting office to learn about betting and stuff and boxing, let's see what the sporting office that we stumbled onto. So we were going to Perkins' house. We notice the Sporting Gazette, Sporting Times is right next door. So we step in. Hey, you know Frank Kearney? Sure, I've known Frank Kearney for years, says Winston Randall, the cigar-chomping editor of the Sporting Times. You say he's missing? Afraid I don't know anything that might help you. He was working on an article about last Sunday's Queen Park cricket match between the players and Marylebone. We don't know about any connection between the match and Kearney's disappearance, but have you heard anything about the match? I heard about the bomb, if that's what you mean. Didn't hear any real details or explanation. Bloody strange, it sounded. I just don't know what to make of Jabez Balfour. Well, what do you mean? Well, he makes such a show of being a friend of the sportsman, and he has certainly contributed to the Marylebone Club and to boxing circles, but he's angered a lot of people who expected him to keep that heath around the North Cricket Ground in Queen's Park open for athletics. Now it appears it will become another of his real estate developments, and I've heard a few grumbles. Of course, it's quite unrealistic for people to expect him to leave a lot of valuable land underdeveloped just for them to have a place to play. Boys will be boys. He chuckles at his own humor. If I hear anything about Kearney, I'll let you know. Okay, so sporting office at 47 EC. We might want to return to that to hear if he's discovered anything new. But he also makes a point about the area of the North Cricket Ground in Queen's Park. Now that's interesting to us because we've had our eye on that area, and here it is up here where Vincent Derrick may have been talking about the excavation pit. I think we should go here. What do you think about that? Shall we go? And that's the one that Balfour was denying. That's right. Thank you for pointing that out. We were looking at these two articles, and we were saying it's the area bounded by Doyle Gardens, which is here, and High Street, which is here. So this is that area. So we should go there right now. We've never been there yet. 62P. It's the QP land. Balfour, Derrick. Okay. 69. So it's about 7 p.m. We're going to 90 QP, which is 69. What do you think we're going to find there? And it says people don't want development there. That's why we need to deny it. That's why he needs to deny it as long as possible. John says, I also wonder if the plates could have wound up hidden somewhere in this area. Well, it is interesting because this guy Peter Northrop was told to go in the area of his heart, and he is walking this way. But I'm not sure if that's going to tie in. But what do you think we're going to find in this area? Well, anything interesting or nothing? Okay. We find all 11 members of the players' cricket team at practice. When they stop for a break, we move over to talk to them. John Duggan, the team captain, is the first to answer our questions about Franklin Kearney. Yeah, we all know Frank Kearney, I would guess. Sorry to say that he's missing. Sorry to hear that he's missing. Nods of agreement come from the other members of the team. He's a good reporter, seems a nice enough chap. Well, where'd you last see him? I guess it was at the match on Sunday. Did you talk to him? Well, we talked before the start of the match. Oh yeah, about what? Nothing specific, just about the match. And what can you tell us about the match? Oh brother, what a match. From the very start, this match was screwy. This is the first time we had played these gentlemen. I do know Anderson and Kennedy, they're good men, but the rest didn't take the game very seriously. A little too much drinking and fooling around. We're professionals, and that's the way we like to play, professionally. No drinking, no bombs. Who do you think was responsible for the bomb? Well, they deny it, but I think it was the gentleman. Just another joke. The rest of the team seems to agree with this analysis. I wish we could tell you more, but we were there to play cricket, and that's what we tried to do. Hope you find Kearney. All right, well, nothing there. So we went to the cricket ground. We were hoping that we were going to hear more about this development property area, but we didn't. We just heard from the cricket players. All right. Let's see. We're making progress, though. What do we got left? We've got a whole bunch of allies. We've got Parliament. I guess Parliament's a reasonable place to go. All right, let's go to Parliament. We haven't been to Parliament on day 3 yet? That could be interesting. Anna says, what about the umpire? We never looked him up. The other umpire? Okay, what was the other umpire's name? We've got, let's see, we've got umpire number 1 and umpire number 2. Umpire number 1, this is the one we haven't met, I think, is Sanford Pittman, 93 WC. All right, let's go to the other umpire. Maybe, remember there was the last minute substitution. Let's see if he knows anything about that. We let the brass knocker drop more loudly the second time, but we still get no response. We're about to turn and leave when we hear a faint moan. We might have come to his door on a previous day and no one came. We hear a faint moan. Mr. Pittman? Wiggins calls from the door. The only answering sound is a vague scraping noise. I think someone in there may need some help, says Wiggins as he tries the door. It's unlocked and we cautiously enter the narrow hallway. A few more steps take us into the front room where we're met with the grim spectacle of a man gagged and bound to a chair. He has obviously been here for several days. Water, gasped the man as we remove the gag and untie his arms. Whoa, it's a good thing we got to him before he died. Takes several minutes to restore the man to a condition allowing questioning. We briefly identify ourselves. Mr. Pittman, I presume? Can you tell us what happened? I don't know who you are, but I thank God you're here. Pittman pauses to take another sip of water, which he has been so long without. He continues, It happened Sunday. I can tell you what I know, but I don't understand it at all. I was just about to leave for the Queen's Park cricket ground. I was supposed to umpire a match between the Marleybone team and the players. A boy arrived with a message that there had been a change and another umpire was being substituted. Apologies for the inconvenience and so on. I've never heard of such a thing, so I thought I'd show up at the match anyway. I can always watch if the substitution was on the up and up. But as soon as I set foot outside my door, 2 men appeared as if from nowhere and carried me back inside. They didn't say much, just tied me up and gagged me and told me to mind my own business. Have you ever seen the men? Can you describe them? I've never seen them before, and I hope to never see them again. They were mean-looking, I can tell you. One was quite large, over 6 feet, with a big scar across his forehead. The other man was maybe a foot shorter. Can we call a doctor for you? Thank you, yes. Dr. Mason's office is just a few blocks away, 29 Longacre. You're most kind. What were you coming to see me about? Well, it was the cricket match. A bomb was substituted for the ball in the middle of the innings. We're trying to find out why, and a sports reporter who was there is missing. Maybe you know him, Franklin Kearney. Oh, I met him, and I read his articles in the Queen's Park Sporting Gazette. What could be so important about a cricket match? It doesn't make sense. We'll ask Dr. Mason to stop in. I trust you'll have a speedy recovery. Oh, thank you again for your timely entrance. I'm forever indebted. Okay, so an interesting thing is he actually is telling us where to get the doctor. Dr. Mason, just a few blocks away, 29 Longacre. So he's at 90 QP. No, 93 WC. Okay, he wants us to go 29 Longacre. We could look up Dr. Mason, but I don't think we have to because he's at 93 WC. He's at 93 West Central. Let's see where his doctor is. He's here. Let's put a mark on him. And he says his doctor is at 29 Longacre, which is right here. So he's here, and he's like, get my personal doctor. So let's go to his personal doctor. Let's see if there is indeed an entry for that. That would be kind of fun. Okay, there isn't an entry, so it's just, we don't actually go to it. Whew. And it says, wow, didn't expect that. Well, that's interesting. I mean, we knew about the substitution, but we didn't think to go to both umpires once we had discovered that. We didn't count on one of them being tied up. It's a good thing you thought to go there. We saved his life. Okay. And 29 WC isn't, I'll just leave it there. You can't actually go to 29 WC. We just have to imagine we went there and got his doctor. Okay, but before I put that away, actually, he had something interesting for us, didn't he? Plus 45 minutes, it's now 7:45. What did he have that was interesting? He gave us a physical description, that's right. He gave us a physical description. He said 2 men, one with a big and with a scar on his forehead. We haven't run into that man, am I correct? Mean looking, large, over 6 foot with a big scar across forehead. The other one a foot shorter. We have not met that man, right? It's not our boxer, though, right? Our boxer is not described as having a big scar on the forehead. Is he? He's not, right? I mean, it would make sense that he would have a scar. He was a boxer, but probably not on your forehead. So we think that might be one of Moriarty's men. Well, it's whoever broke out Peter Northrop. And we think that's probably Moriarty, not Belfour at this point. And I don't believe we've heard of this man. Scar on forehead. All right, well, we're going to keep our eyes open and our ears open for such a man. Okay, it's time for a break. We need to remind ourselves we're not in a rush here. We're going to come back. I think mostly when we come back, we're going to be catching up on allies and stuff. All right, I'll see you in 8 minutes. Okay, we're back. I like showing that little live webcam outside in my neighborhood when I'm back from breaks. If the regulars can find live webcams of where they are, send me a link to them and maybe I can put them up on the same multi-view screen so that when we go to that break, we can see what's the temperature, time, and view from each of your areas. Anna says, we haven't been to Teakson Brewery to see Glenn Judson. Yes, we have. We just went there. He gave us a whole bunch of information. Don't you remember? He was the one who said that the Shanks were buying up the pubs and told us the story about how he had a friend who owned a pub and when he wouldn't sell it, he ended up dead. That was Glenn Judson at the Teakson. All right. Have we tried seeing Brandon today? I know we tried seeing Brandon a bunch of times. He's got 2 places he is, Sir Brandon, and we're very suspicious of him, so we want to find him. He's got the Land Allotment Company, 50QP. 50QP we did go to today. I forget what he said. But we've also got his house, 51 Northwest, which we have not been to. I don't know if we were at it yesterday, though. I'm not sure it's changed. We were at it yesterday. It's got the same information. Let's just remind ourselves a little bit about that. I believe when we go to his house, it tells us that he's at work. Let me just see here. "51 Northwest is 46. So if you go to his house, it says he's at the Land Allotment Company in QP. And if you go to the Land Allotment Company, I believe this is the one where he won't let us in the meeting. Is that right? No, that was Belfour. Let's see what he says here. We did read this, but I don't remember. As we enter the antechamber of Sir Miller's office, our way is blocked by 2 very large men. We'd like to speak to Sir Miller, if we may, says Wiggins. Sir Miller's in an important meeting, can't be disturbed. What's your name? My name is Wiggins. When do you expect the meeting to be finished? The man who has been doing the talking runs his finger down a short list of names before answering. I don't see your name on this list, mate. Sir Miller will be busy all day. Okay, so I do remember that. We did try going to that today. What was Belfour then? I thought Belfour gave us that similar thing about being in a meeting. Maybe not. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. No, when we see Belfour, he says, just mind your own business. All right. And it says, I mixed Winston with Glenn Judson. They both said it's basically the same thing. Okay, so we've got a bunch of allies to talk to, but before we do, I have a couple of time-sensitive places I want to get to, at least role-playing wise. It's getting late in the afternoon. I want to go to the Bank of London before they close because I'm curious if we can look up account numbers and whether that coded message might be account numbers. So I want to go to the bank before they close. And I want to go to Parliament before they close in case we can hear someone speaking. So I'd like to go to those 2 places. I'm very curious to get to the bank before the end of today so I know at least what we're up against with those encoded messages. So the Bank of London... Where is the Bank of London? I remember it being up in here somewhere. Bank of England, 23 EC. Okay, so hopefully they're open late at night, or in the evening at least. Bank England 23 EC, which brings us to 224. Okay, and we need to put a little marker on that. At the bank, we might be able to ask about other stuff. Well, we could go to the mint to ask about the counterfeited money, but it's possible the Bank of London will know a bit about it too. This does not want to come off. Okay, let's see. We remember we went to this place before we were quite ready at some point, and we left. We turned right around. Now I think we're ready. So the Bank of England lets us get either account information or the printing office. Okay, let's go to account information first. I'm glad to see that they're open. You can go to the printing office and account information. I'm hoping that they'll be like, here's what an account number looks like, and then we'll know to look for it in our notes or something. Okay, clue 1, and the other one was 215. Account information was 1 and 215. So we're going to start with 1. Clue number 1 in the book. Kind of exciting to be seeing clue number 1 in the clue book. How may I help you? Inquires the young man who has just introduced himself as Richard Cates. We'd like to speak with Mr. Oswald Mason, if we may. Could you please tell him we're friends of Mycroft Holmes? Oh, maybe this is where we stopped. Because Mycroft didn't send us here. We've just stumbled in. All right, let's check the printing office and see if Mycroft sent us there. All right, we're going to hear about the printing. This might be a little bit of history. Albert Mackett Beeson is giving us a guided tour of the Bank of England's underground printing facilities. As you can see, this area of the bank is not open to the general public. In fact, it is one of the most secured locations in the world. I'm showing it to you in the hope that once Sherlock Holmes realizes how important finding the people behind this counterfeiting scheme is, he will devote his considerable talents to finding the plates. Perhaps the plates will never be found. Yes, perhaps. Do you know that we have a staff of examiners checking every £5 note that comes in? As of yet, no counterfeit copy notes have been found. What worries me most is the paper. Mackett Beeson stops in front of a stack of papers and holds one up for us to see. The sheet is approximately 2 feet by 3 feet, and on it are printed 3 rows of £5 notes. When I was first called to the mint, it was clear at once that the 2 notes shown me were not printed here. As you can see, all our notes line up perfectly. The 2 I was shown didn't. Now, the counterfeit engravings are near perfect. We have found only 5 minor discrepancies. But again, my main concern is the paper. The paper? Yes. The paper we found in Northrop's desk was the best quality counterfeit paper I have seen. It could fool any non-expert. Whoever is behind this must have large sums of money and resources available. I fear there may be a foreign power involved. Where does the bank get its paper? Since 1795, we have gotten our paper from the Bear Mill in Hampshire. There is no question of the integrity of Bear. We have checked. We understand that you had Northrop under surveillance before his arrest. Yes, that led us nowhere. The only places he went were to work and home. On Sunday, he took his family to Hyde Park. Never varied his routine at all. Okay, we'll pass this information on to Holmes, says Maya. We could use his help, says Mackett Beeson, as he leads us out of his underground world. Okay, so the printing office, and then 45 minutes, so it's 8:30. Printing office says it's all about the paper quality, and he thinks it's a foreign government might be involved, right? Whoever's involved must have large sums of money and resources. I fear there may be foreign power involved. Foreign power, this is, again, signs of, I don't even need to switch to the chat. I know Moriarty's name is going to be mentioned. Yes, it sounds like Moriarty, more confirmation. And then he gives us a little bit of a teaser about their tale that they put on Northrop before he was arrested. Work, home, and Hyde Park. Well, we know where his home is, and we've talked to his wife. She doesn't want to talk to us much. I wonder if her tune's going to change now that he's dead. But my question is, do we know where he worked? He worked at the Mint. He worked at the Mint. We haven't been to the Mint yet. And we haven't been to Hyde. I wonder, I mean, there's no point going to Hyde Park, right? He was arrested several weeks or months ago, but we are curious to see if he was arrested in July. But hopefully we'll find that in the records when we go talk to our allies. Let me just write down Hyde Park and the Mint. It might be nice to go to the Mint and see what they can tell us about him, but it doesn't feel like we need to learn that much about him. But we should go back to his house, I suppose, now that we know that. Okay, where was the other place? We want to make sure we go back to the Bank of England once we talk to Mycroft. We do want to go to the boxing ring and Parliament. I wanted to go to Parliament before they close down for the day. So we went to Bank of England, but we need to return there. And then Parliament, well, it's day 2. Okay, Parliament, we haven't been there today, so it could be a whole new set of stuff. Okay, Parliament. It's 8:30 p.m. Hopefully they're having late sessions at Parliament. 16 Southwest, 264. How are we doing on time today? Anna says maybe we can find the plates before Moriarty. It's an interesting question with this game. Like, can we, if we go to the right place, can we stop bad things from happening? Rather than just figure stuff out, can we actually... Okay, so we're back in Parliament, and we're given a similar set of places as before, but we don't know if these are new entries. We've got William Clark. Why do we not know who William Clark is? William Clark and Roger Peel were in the last time, but we have no reason to know to visit them. Visitors Gallery. We haven't heard of them yet. Okay, let's see if any of these are different. Let me see what we've got here. So Visitors Gallery is going to be different because it's a different day. I'm not going to look up Roger Peel. I'm not going to look up William Clark because we don't know who they are. But I am going to look up and see if 171 and 167 are different. 171 and 167. Okay, 171 is the same and 167. Okay, so if you go to the two people we know, Henry Cole's office is still mourning him, and Reginald Ormond's office is still saying they can't believe he would be involved. Okay, so let's just go to the visitors gallery. Same. Roger Peel. We don't know who Roger Peel is. We don't know who William Clark is. Were they in any newspaper? We might want to scan for them at some point. Okay, here we go. Visitors gallery. Let's see what we got at the visitors gallery today. The visitors gallery is not overcrowded, and we're able to find seats quite readily. Excuse me, miss, says Wiggins to the well-dressed woman sitting next to him. Do you happen to know who the speaker is? I understand his name is Sir Lion Playfair from Leeds. Wiggins is surprised by the young woman's foreign accent. So am I. Are you from America? He asks her. Yeah, I am. It's most interesting to hear what your parliament has to say about McKinley tariffs. We turn our attention to Sir Lion. Such astonishing experiments in legislation have recently been made in the United States in regard to commerce that they deserve the attention of all interested in the welfare of industry. If they be right in principle, and if they be successful in practice, the whole policy of the United Kingdom is founded on a gigantic error, and must lead to our ruin as an industrial nation. The new tariff was not framed in any special hostility to England, though this country will suffer most because it is the greatest industrial nation which has commercial dealings with the United States. As Sir Lion seems to be just beginning a rather lengthy presentation to Parliament, we decide to leave. All right. These are about tariffs. The McKinley, this is going to be a real historical thing. They're talking about U.S. President McKinley introducing some new tariffs that are going to hurt England, I guess. I don't know why he's saying founded on a gigantic error. Oh, the policy of the United States is founded on a gigantic... No, policy of the United Kingdom. I'm not sure what that means, but this would have been a real historical thing, but not related to our case. Okay, that's Parliament. Our allies will stay up late and will knock on doors. We don't have to worry about getting to them before they close. How about going to Bon March? It feels like we should have been going there a long time ago if we don't want to put it off too long. So let's go to Bon Marche, 81 Northwest. We found the card. We got the card for Bon Marché early in the game. It's taken us a long time to get there. Looks like 31. I'm kind of excited about going here finally. There's our business card. I should have done a scan of these business cards so I could just bring out the paper easily. And it seems like only fitting that we take a look at it. There's the Bon Marché. Bon Marché. Specifically, the sporting goods department. Shopping for the discerning. Okay. Let's see what's going on at Bon Marché. What do we think? We think maybe this is where the cricket ball was bought. We don't know why Kearney has this business card. We find the sporting goods department with little difficulty. The selection of items is somewhat overwhelming, and we could easily spend a good part of the day exploring the various items. A clerk eyes us a bit skeptically, but approaches with what is probably a fair modicum of his usual eagerness. Good afternoon. Can I be of some assistance? Wiggins answers, taking his usual liberties with the truth. Perhaps you can. We're friends of Franklin Kearney. We understand he's a regular customer. Have you seen him this week? Funny you should ask. Mr. Kearney is indeed a regular customer, and I have been expecting him. Several months ago, he ordered a handmade fly rod. He's been most eager to receive it. I spoke with him on the telephone on Saturday to inform him that it had arrived. He was quite excited and said he would come in on Monday. I expected him to be waiting when the doors were opened, but he has not been in. I hope nothing has happened. We hope not as well. I trust he'll soon be in. Thank you for your time. Okay, so not important at all. Just more proof that Kearney has really disappeared. Even his fishing rod that he was so excited to get, he did not come out of hiding for it. Checking in with the chat, Shazner says they're talking about McKinley. Megan says McKinley was an isolationist in contrast to the Victorian Empire. Shazner says McKinley Tariff of 1890 became law, boosting protective tariff rates of nearly 50% on the average for many American products. Nice. Nice. Anna says, Fly Rod, is he fishing out the plates from the Thames? It's an interesting idea. I took it that he was just wanted to go fishing. Imagine if he found the plates. Wow, that's an interesting idea, though, right? Like, what if we've been thinking that he's on the run because he's investigating Belfort, but what if he stumbled onto, like, Northrop and figured out where the plates were? And he's got them. All right. So that was of no help. All right, any place else we feel like we need to get to before time runs out? We need to talk to Mycroft so that we can go back to the bank. So it's time to visit Mycroft. So 8 Southwest, Mycroft, 103. Let's see what Mycroft has to say to us today. Maybe he's going to recommend we go to the bank. Okay. When we go to Mycroft on day 3, he's not working. Well, the Bank of England is not changing, right? All right, so I guess we'll put that off till tomorrow. I mean, we could just go to the bank and ask about account information, but it sounds like it really wanted Mycroft to send us there. How about, you know what would be fun is going to the Balfour home, because I think it's changed. What time is it already? It's like 9 p.m. I don't know if we've been to this Balfour home entry, but I'm curious to talk to to the wife again. Now that we know about her illegitimate affairs and everything, maybe we'll go to the Balfour home and we'll go to... All right, you guys want to go to the Mint, and you're always getting mad at me. All right, we won't go to the Balfour. Oh, wait, I already circled it. We got to go to the Balfour home. Then we'll go to the Mint. And then we should go to Peter Northrop's wife and ask her about... I don't know if we've been to this Balfour home again. She's just going to tell us they don't want any more help, right? She's like, I don't need any more help about the jewels. Okay. Let's see what we see here. I'm sorry, but neither Mr. nor Mrs. Balfour is here at the present. Do you know where we might find them? Well, Mrs. Balfour has left London for a few days. Mr. Balfour did not leave instructions concerning his schedule for today. If you care to leave your card, I will see that it is delivered to him upon his return. Good day. Okay, so she's abandoned this whole place. It's too scary. It's too dangerous for her is why she's abandoned. Anna says, I told you she left. It's too dangerous for her is why she left. All right, you guys wanted to go to the Mint now. Where is the Mint? Do we know the address of the Mint? Are we going to find that under Royal Mint, maybe? The Royal Mint, 13 EC, it looks like. There have been times where we missed finding a place because it was under Royal instead of by itself. 13 EC is a Royal Mint. This is one of these places that we didn't know what it was. So it's always nice when we fill in a new location. 13 EC is the Royal Mint. All right. We're going to go to the Royal Mint. And because we're from Sherlock Holmes, they're going to let us in late. Okay. Royal Mint is at 13 EC. Let's see where in London the Royal Mint is. Like, where do you think it's located? Is it located in a secure place by the banks and everything? Or is it off out of the center of town? (13 EC) right here. Okay, 13 EC is right near the Tower of London where all the paramilitary stuff is. All right. Clue number 9. Okay, nice hefty clue. Let's see what we got here. Northrop was a real artist. He was one of my top engravers. This assessment is made by Sir J. Edgar Boehm. His design of the double florin is a masterpiece. His execution of Pistrucci's design of St. George and the Dragon is a work of art. Her Majesty loved it. Too bad I didn't have him do her portrait. She certainly didn't love that one. We're in one of the inner rooms of the Royal Mint where the engraving is done. There are half a dozen men at work over their small work tables. Sir Edgar, the royal engraver, is our guide. Then Northrop didn't design the banknotes? No. He was capable of engraving anything, of course. I can't tell you how upset I was over the whole affair. I had great hopes for Peter. If he would have worked hard and kept his nose clean. He could have taken my place when I retired. Can you recount to us the events which led up to Northrop's arrest? Yes, they're still very vividly engraved on my mind. As I said, Northrop is an artist. His eye, mind, and hands worked as one. He had the skill to copy anything. So there was no serious technical problem of making the banknote plates. The big problem in counterfeiting is the paper used in the 5-pound note. Its manufacture is one of the best kept secrets in the world. It would take large sums of money to make even a less than perfect copy of the paper. Counterfeiting of banknotes has never been a great threat to the economy because no one has been able to make a paper that could fool any bank teller or businessman who handles money with any degree of intelligence, and most do. What has us so worried about the Northrop forgery is that the paper could fool all but the most expert examiner. And how many notes were found? Only 2 5-pound notes. Only 2? Yes, you see, Northrop was also responsible for maintaining the royal maces housed in the Tower of London. He was a master goldsmith, and it was his responsibility to check the ceremonial maces after each usage. 4 months ago, right after the opening of Parliament, Northrop was at the Tower working when one of his co-workers went to his workbench to borrow a tool. While looking through Northrop's drawers, he came upon 2 5-pound notes printed on one sheet of paper. He called this to my attention. At first, I just thought it was a souvenir that Peter may have picked up from the printing department at the Bank of England. But something didn't seem right. I called Albert Mackett Beeson, head of the currency printing office. That's the person we talked to at the bank. He came over and looked at the banknotes. They were not printed by his office. He cut a small strip of paper and had it tested. It was counterfeit. Mackett Beeson started an investigation. He had Peter followed for weeks. He had his dwelling searched and investigated his background. No evidence was gained. After 3 weeks of this, we again searched his workspace and locker, and this time found the start of a 20-pound banknote plate. Mackett Beeson thought it was time to arrest Peter, and this was done. There was enough evidence to convict Peter, but he wouldn't implicate anyone else. As of this moment, the plate and paper has not been found. That's about all I can tell you. 45 minutes. Okay, again, it's about the paper. Now, I have to say, this was, I think that, I don't know how to describe why, but this was almost one of my favorite entries we've read. It's just because it's like, in this big game, is this tiny little mini investigation. This mini little procedural concerning the experts, the pros doing their job. And it was the little details here about how a coworker is going to borrow a tool, spots a banknotes, is a little curious about it, reports it to his boss. The boss takes it seriously and says, "This seems a little off. It's probably just a harmless explanation, but let me call my friend who works at the printing office." That person also took it seriously, didn't just say, it's probably nothing. He said, "Oh, let me come over. We'll take a look." Came over, looked at it, said, "I'm not sure. Let me take a little snippet of it. Let me bring it to my guy who can look at the paper." He brings it to his guy. His guy puts it in the microscope and says, "It's not quite our paper, but it's the closest I've ever seen." It reports back. They say, "Okay, start an investigation." And they start trailing him for 3 weeks. All in these little sections of this big case where this is not important. We've got this little mini microscope story of Peter Northrop and how they caught him, and then they caught him making a 20-pound note. Really, really wonderful. Really wonderful. If people just, this is like the procedural. We saw this in a couple of our dossiers as well, where it's nice to see the professionals taking seriously their job to find things when things go wrong. And this is a whole little story of a whole group of people who all did their job well. Pretty cool that we're just getting a little peek at this all in this one section. I kind of wish more of these paragraphs were long like this. Okay. But looks like just flavor text for us, right? The only thing we're told here is that this paper that he used was so expensive and had to come from somewhere, someone with a lot of money and resources. Again, just Moriarty. Doesn't seem like doesn't seem like much important here for us. He was starting to work on a 20-pound note. It's just the plates. It looks like the plates were not even used, have not even had a chance to be used before they were buried. I want to recommend another movie for you. So you get 2 movie recommendations that we can talk to after New Year's when we resume on Monday. The one I already mentioned from previous day stream was Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. And now I'm going to give you another one called To Live and Die in LA. With, who knows To Live and Die in LA? Live and Die in LA has a couple of famous actors, one of whom is, what's his name? Live and Die in LA is a very stylishly made movie. I love it. And it's got a couple of famous actors. Some people are not going to like it. I love it. William Dafoe. That's right. William Dafoe's in it. I was reminded of it by reading this. You'll see why when you watch it. But William Dafoe is in it. And then the other guy who is in one of the the guy who made the movies about Hannibal Lecter and the other one about the serial killer chasing the cop chasing the serial killer. The first one that was made, the main actor who played the detective in that one is in here. Okay, that's not important. You got 2 movie recommendations to watch. To Live and Die in LA is a wonderful movie. I can't guarantee you're going to love it because I could see how it would hit you the wrong way and seem not so great. Who is the director of To Live and Die in LA? It's a famous director because it's a very stylized movie. And it's a director that I like and has done other stuff that I've liked. Maybe William Friedkin or one of those people who's really good at directing those like Heat and those movies, those sort of heist-like movies, maybe. Who's the director of To Live and Die in L.A.? It was Friedkin. There you go. Okay. So he's good. All right, back to our case. All right, might be time for our allies. Let's sort of, French Connection. All right, we went to the Royal Mint. All right, let's wind down now by talking to some allies. I expect everyone to be ready to talk about these movies on Sunday or Monday, or at least before this case is over. All right. Let's go to our allies. Where shall we go? Where do you want to go? How about we could go to Middlesex Hospital too and check on Don Mills before he gets killed off. Although I don't think he's going to get killed off because the guy who beat him up got the jewels back. So actually, we don't care about him either. He's a crook. Let's just go to some of our allies. Let's go to Disraeli O'Brien. We haven't been to him at all yet. Porlock. I see, Porlock. Yeah, we should go to Porlock, Archive. I mean, we should go to them all. Okay, let's go to Porlock first then. Whatever, that was what came up in the comments first, so that's what we'll go to Porlock. Where is Porlock? Where's my allies list? I am very curious if it's going to turn out that these notes files are longer than our Gaslight notes, Adventures by Gaslight. Anyone who is enjoying this Queen Park epic marathon should get themselves a copy of Adventures by Gaslight and play it. And use the patch kit that Jonathan and I wrote for it to make it even better. Okay, Fred Porlock, 18 Northwest. Okay, 18 Northwest, 91. Let's see what Porlock has to say for us. Don't forget the boxing ring we wanted to go to. Okay. Let me see. Parsons and Sons Toy Shop. That's what we've walked into here. Fred Porlock at Parsons and Sons Toy Shop. Sam Parsons looks around conspiratorially as we enter and waits until the single customer in the shop has left before greeting us. Oh, Wiggins, I have something to show to you today. With that, the toy shop proprietor takes out a miniature brewery wagon and sets it upon the counter. It is drawn by 2 horses. Each of the barrels is marked with a large M. The driver sports a silk top hat. Further examination reveals nothing noteworthy. All right. We know what that means. This Porlock is the Moriarty guy. And here he is showing us that Moriarty is tied to the brewery people. So yeah, brewery people and Moriarty. Okay, this is kind of nice because it also helps us just ties a bow on understanding where the alliances are. We've got the Brewers and Moriarty on one side, and then Belfour and the anti-alcohol real estate on the other side. Something like that. Okay, Anna says we're supposed to be wrapping up soon. Yeah, we've got about a half hour, or maybe a little more than a half hour or so. Okay, so that makes sense. What was the next ally we wanted to go to? How about Disraeli O'Brien? Disraeli O'Brien. I think my cubes are working pretty well. Langdale Pike, we wanted to go to the library. Disraeli O'Brien, the Office of Records. We could talk to Porky again. Somerset House, I believe, is the one that isn't in this game. Births and deaths and stuff. Okay, so we're going to go now to Disraeli O'Brien. I wanted to go to him, and then we'll go to the library. Office of Records, Disraeli O'Brien, WC14. You can get in your votes now for who you'd like to see next. $2.50. Langdale Pike was pretty colorful. He gave us a lot of good information. Okay, Disraeli O'Brien says, do you want criminal records or do you want land records? So the marker's not reacting because when it's too close, it thinks that we want something different. Okay. Okay, do we want criminal or land? Well, we want both, right? I mean, we're here. We might as well ask for both. So let's go to 113. And then we'll go to 150. Criminal records first. Whoa, look at this. Holy cow, look at what we just stumbled on. This game is no joke. I've had all the criminal records pulled that fit the modus operandi you described. 2 men working together using guns working in daylight. Okay, well, this is our robbery at Lambert's. So we've wrapped this case up. But let's just look at it. Henry Terrence, let's just write down, this is the dense clue. This is when I say a dense clue, that's my term of art for we should make a copy of it so we could refer to it and recheck it. But look at these criminal records. We know it's the Mills brothers we care about. Here they are, Donald and Leo Mills. But these might be people, look, they've got their addresses. So we might want to note on our sheet that these are people, like that would explain what some of these unknown addresses are. We don't think any of these other people are involved. Let's just take a look at Donald and Leo Mills. Let me just see if it continues. Whoa, it continues too. So it continues over here a bit where we get information about Roger Prescott and Nathan Jones. Plus 2 hours. Megan says maybe we should be looking for any big people with a scar. Because maybe they're not involved in the robbery, but they could be. These are all robbers. 5'6", 5'2". So these are probably going to be robbery people. They're probably not going to be Moriarty people, but we never know. Let's just take a look for fun at the 2 people that we know did it. Donald Mills and Leo Mills, just to get some of their background here. 4 charges, housebreaking, street theft, 2 robberies. Spent 4 years in Wormwood and then 4 years in Millibank. His brother, 3 years in Millibank and 4 years in Millibank. Pickpocket, spent a couple months in Newsgate in 69. So the 2 of them looks like they're always caught or I don't know if they're caught together, but frequently they're caught together. This guy, Milton, got arrested for dog stealing, common thief, assault, trafficking stolen goods, pickpocket. Okay, so I don't see anyone bigger than 6 foot. They're not involved in anything. The only thing I want to do is I want to get the addresses of these people to see if they're in our thing, and I'll just put criminal for the generic criminal that we could visit for fun but probably is not involved in anything. 61. So this was you can see how many places in the southeast we didn't know what they were. It looks like this is, remember, the southeast is the bad area of London. So these are all the criminals live in the southeast. And now we've got an explanation for why we've got a bunch of places. Let's not forget, we could catch these people doing other crimes. 86 Southeast. Oh, that's Leo Mills. Donald Mills, we already knew where he was. 78 Southwest, that's another criminal. 68 Southwest, that's another criminal. It's nice we're filling out a bunch of these places that we were curious what they were. Let's see. 27 is a criminal. I'm not even writing their names because we'll just stop in on them if we want. 55 is another criminal. Okay, so we filled out a bunch of criminals' locations. We understand that case, so we don't need to follow it up. Let's see. And it says the land info would be more interesting at this point, I think. Don't count these 2 hours. We didn't need this info, as you said. We've already wrapped up this one. Okay. Okay, the land information was 150. Let's do that. Wow, this case is just no joke. Okay. So here we are at Disraeli O'Brien. Yes, I know Franklin Kearney, replies Disraeli to Wiggins' questions. Nothing has happened to him, has it? We don't know. He's been missing since Sunday. When was the last time you saw him? Last week. He was checking into the ownership of several lots. Do you remember which lots? Yes, I can find them for you. I still have Frank's list. Disraeli disappears into the stacks of books that fill the Office of Records. After an absence of 10 minutes, Disraeli returns carrying a large record book. He sets it down on the counter in front of us and opens it to a page filled with columns. Here are the lots Frank was interested in. As you can see, there's been a great deal of activity. Lot 4, 2309, and Lot 4, 1897. Okay, 4, 2309. I'm going to print this out, so I'm not going to take detailed notes of this. I'll print it out later, but let me just write down the land holdings. We might want to see if our codes mention either something that's like any of these. Let's see. He's tracking the land records. Leased to Lord Goodwin, from Goodwin to Marion Balfour, and then from Balfour to the land's allotment, from allotment to Liberator. These are just passing through companies that he has ownership of. It kind of sounds like they're moving them around. Leased. They're moving them around to each other. Same thing down with 1897. They're leasing them to each other. Why would they be doing that? Are they bleeding their companies dry, extracting profits? Why are they flipping them around? They're all going in the same circle. Both of these lots on the same day, the same circle of things. Except for 2309 makes a couple extra hops. They go from Goodwin, who was blown up, don't forget, to Balfour. From Balfour to the land's allotment back to Balfour. Like Balfour is president of all these places. And then he's leasing them to the Temperance Society, where we remember they talk about how they keep getting moved around. Jonathan asks a great question. Where is July in these things? Okay, let's note. Here's our July. But this is July of 79, many years ago. We've got nothing current, right? We're in 1888 now. So these are actually 4 years ago, 2 years ago. But this is that pattern of the Temperance Society moving in and then moving out. But look, we've got a new company we've never heard of, Finch & Co. All these others we know about. Lands allotment, liberator, house and land investments. Do we know about house and land investments? Yes, we do. But we don't know about Finch and Company, and that's the last place it goes. Shay says, this is the second time I've seen Finch and Company. It was in another clue. Okay, I don't remember seeing Finch and Company, but now I'm very curious about it, especially since it's the last hop in this chain. What about this one? This one, last one, was in Lands Allotment Company. Okay, let's see what he says here. He says, "What does it mean?" asks Wiggins as he looks over the endless columns of figures listing every land transaction for the world's largest city. "It's quite clear. Most of the lands that make up Queen's Park and Kensal Green are part of the Goodwin estates. They've been leased, usual terms are 200 years, to people for the purpose of developing the property. In the case of the lots listed here, Balfour leased them from Lord Goodwin. He then developed them and re-leased them, or he leased them to be developed. I don't know what Frank was looking for, but it is a little unusual to have the land change hands so often, as some of the lots have in Queen's Park. But there's nothing illegal about it." Shay says Shay wrote down Finch and Company, and Anna wrote down Finch and Company was at the news agency, and Shay says it was Edna Whelan. News Company and Edna Whelan. Shay says, no, sorry, it was news agency. Okay, so the news agency, which I printed out, let's take a look then at my clues. Finch and Company at the biographies is what you're saying. Is that what you're saying? This one? This was the news agency biographs. Where do you see Finch and Company? House and Trust, Worthington Shanks. We've got Rigby and Company. Is that what you were thinking of? Then we've got Glass and Company. Pickering and Chatto. I don't see any Finch, though. Oh, sorry. These cubes are confusing it. I don't see Finch and Company here. I think maybe you were thinking of Rigby and Company. Which we tried to look up because it was very hot on finding Lloyd Perkins's love of his life and his background, but I couldn't find Rigby. Unless I didn't copy something, I don't think we've got a Finch. Let's look up, however, let's get an address for Finch if we can. And you let me know if you think at the Central News Agency. Anna says that's where Goodwin came in. It's Goodwin's lands. Yeah, it's Goodwin's lands that are being leased out. Unfortunately, I don't see a Finch and Company in our directory. That's too bad. I do see a Fry and Sons where that guy had an accident. It's Finch, right? F-I-N-C-H. It's too bad I don't see any Finch. I am going to note down my Fry and Sons, though. Fry and Sons is 95 EC. Should have written that down before. That's where the guy had the accident. Well, I'm sad that we can't find Finch and Company, but we did get some good information about those land lots. Have we heard about Kensal Green yet? He's talking us. He said Queens Park and Kensal Green areas. Queens Park and Kensal Green, part of the Goodwin Estates. I don't think we have heard about Kensal Green. It almost sounds like where the kid found the body, but not quite. About 11 p.m. now, I guess. All right. We still have a little bit of time. Maybe we should go to Fry and Son since I just happened to stumble on them. Let's just rule out that. Remember, we were told that one guy died, Dwight Smith, died in a wagon accident at the Fry and Sons. Let's just follow that up before they forget. 95 EC. EC, Fry and Sons. Looks like 238. Says, yeah, worker was killed. Dwight Smith was killed when some crates of canned cocoa concentrate fell on him. He was always sneaking off to sleep during working hours. I warned him that there would be dire consequences next time I caught him, but this is a little more dire than what I had in mind. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like this is related to anything. Seems like a normal run-of-the-mill accident. Dwight Smith, but I suppose if you were really curious, you might look him up. There haven't been many, everything seems to be related to everything else in this case, but let's see. Smith. I don't see any Dwight Smith. Of course, he could live with his family. All right, I'll put a note to look for it later. All right, well, we've got about 15 minutes left before we're going to wrap up the session, I guess. What other ally might we go to that we haven't gone to today? We went to Disraeli O'Brien. That was super useful. Let's go to Langdale Pike. He wanted to talk to us a lot last time. Langdale Pike to Southwest 151. Let me make sure I mark Fry and Sons 95 EC in case that's near anything. '91, 90. '95. Oops. Okay, that was Brian Sons. Okay, Langdale Pike. 151. Let's see what Langdale Pike has to say to us. Well, this is interesting. Langdale Pike says, if it's before 2 o'clock, go to 175. And no, it's not. So we're catching him late in the day, so we go to 26. Maybe he's going to know something about Goodwin getting blown up. Indeed, he does. Oh, poor Goodwin. True, he was a bombastic bore, but to bombard him with explosives seems a little drastic. Langdale has joined us for a cup of tea. He's followed his father to the great peerage in the sky by only 6 months. Any idea why Lord Goodwin was assassinated? No, he really had no power other than the power of money. He was only 26 years old. He did have large land holdings in Ireland and all the lack of popularity which that causes. But the Irish are not bashful about claiming credit for their actions. Like his father, he was not active in politics, but also like his father, he was interested in making money. And how did he do that? Well, he was active in land development. Lord Goodwin owned all the land where the Queen's Park development is taking place. He's been working very closely with Jabez Balfour over the last few years. He also has large holdings in the West End. Anything in his private life? My boy, you are learning to look for the important things. But alas, nothing that I could ever find. And if I can't find it, it must not be there. As I said, he was a bore. Only interested in money and sports, cricket mainly. He was a teetotaler and a gentleman when it came to women. Okay, so nothing useful from Langdale Pike, just redundant information about him being the original owner of the Queen's Park real estate. And more Irish connections to Balfour, we heard. Yes, I guess Balfour has his Irish connections. How about Scotland Yard? Let's hear about the bombing from Scotland Yard perspective. Can't believe we haven't gone to Scotland Yard yet. Maybe we did and I didn't write it down. 177. We did go to Scotland Yard. That's where we heard about the death of the depressed for days. He was having a love affair with what woman? Who's the woman? No one knows. Gregson's at Bart's looking at the body. All right, we already did all that. I guess it didn't change since yesterday, maybe. Or maybe we just went to it and I didn't remember. Okay. Being the owner is an important piece of knowledge. We just knew it already. Library. Okay, so we're going to Lomax at the library. Lots of people want the library, says Jonathan. It sounds like I know Jonathan wanted the library. Is that Jonathan's way of trying to trick me to go to the library? Like, lots of people want the library. Okay, here we go. We're going to Lomax at the library. Let's see what kind of information he can give us. 5 Southwest Library. Okay, 5 southwest is 71. What do you think we might learn at the library? Some general information. Wiggins, what can I do for you? Are you seeking my recommendations for your pleasure reading? If your French is up to it, you should read the latest from the pen of Monsieur Zola. Okay, let me just point out that Monsieur Zola, if you'll remember, Monsieur Zola is Emile Zola, who's got a big ad here. I think maybe we're going to have to stop by and see about this book. Get Wiggins' response to it. But let's keep reading here. Sorry, Lomax, I don't have time for much in the way of pleasure reading these days. We're trying to find a sports reporter who's missing, Franklin Kearney. Do you know him? Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, he was doing some research last week. What was he researching? Brewing. The industry, I guess. I asked him if the Sporting Gazette was becoming a political paper. He seemed so interested in Parliament's upcoming beer law vote. He wouldn't say why he was so interested, but he was looking for information on the recent trends in brewing. The effect on the pubs, the buying up of so many pubs by the breweries, pub bankruptcies, and especially the public stock prices of the breweries. Can you summarize some of that information for us? The big breweries competed hectically during the last decade. They encouraged larger and more opulent public houses. Those are the pubs. The publicans have overspent on their new premises and are now having trouble making their interest payments. They don't bring the same prices they brought a couple of years ago. The breweries raised a lot of new capital on the stock exchange, but now the bottom has dropped out of the market. Dividends and worse are in doubt in some cases. Okay, thanks, Womack. I sure hope nothing has happened to Frank. So, what do you make out of this information? Kearney was researching the Beer Act. We know about that tie-in. And then he gives us some background about the context of where England is in 1888 regarding all this. He's saying the bottom has dropped out of the stock market, so all of these brewery companies are in financial trouble. They did a lot of buying up of the public houses, and now they're trying to sell them, but they're not making good money on it. The big breweries competed hectically, so he's saying the big breweries bought up pubs over the last decade, and now they're forced to sell them low. Chesner said, it sounds like there's a big brewery crash coming. Yeah. I'm still, like, for a long time, we've been talking about the sort of dilemma of trying to understand what is the criminal activity of real estate that Balfour is doing. What's the scheme? What's the criminal activity? We know he made a lot of illegal money in gambling, at boxing, and fixing boxing fights. Maybe we're looking at it slightly wrong in terms of criminal real estate. I'm not sure. Like, we know real estate's passing through hands a lot. But is a better way to look at it that Balfour's criminal enterprises have to do with the illegal gambling and boxing, and that he's just invested heavily in real estate and leveraged himself in real estate. And it's not so much that he's involved in illegal real estate deals, but rather that he's gotten himself into trouble leveraging real estate deals, and now he has to come up with money. But it's not really that he's involved in criminal real estate deals. Although we do know he seems to have had some guy killed. But maybe his criminal stuff has nothing to do with the real estate. Maybe the real estate is all legit. He's just in debt. And it says there's also the info about Balfour giving 8% interest. This is just more evidence leaning in the idea that it's just that he's overextended himself. The only weird part is that we're told he's secretly buying up the breweries, right? Buying up the stock at the stock market, and then there's someone else buying it up. But we know the prices of the breweries are in trouble, so it does make sense that he might be trying to buy them up, depress the value, and then have the price go up. But that seems like a longer term plan. Megan says those Balfour properties were changing hands pretty quickly. That's a good point. Yeah, we don't understand why they're trading ownership so quickly. Like, why? It's not just that they're changing ownership. It's that they're changing ownership within the same group of people, as if it's a scam. But what would you benefit from that? One way you would benefit is you're arguing against the Beer Act. You're a temperance guy, so you have to sell it to people who aren't temperance involved, and then they can sell it back. I don't understand why you're selling it to yourself, essentially. Why would you be selling it to yourself? This is disturbingly close to real scams in real estate that happen currently. Like, you're setting up these shell companies. One reason you would sell it to yourself, to your company, is because you're stealing money from the company. In other words, you're president of company A and president of company B, so you arrange a sale at an inflated price so you can extract profit. You're sort of like a pyramid scheme, passing this property, but they're not selling it, they're leasing it. They're leasing it. But I guess it sort of makes sense. I mean, not that it makes sense, but we have to remember, if you're president of a company, maybe you don't care if you bankrupt the company, as long as you get them to, like a pyramid scheme. Imagine your board members are presidents of 3 companies, and you don't care if the companies fail. You just care about extracting profit somehow. So you have them leased to each other for increasing amounts, and you're pocketing the pyramid of money that's going around, knowing eventually it'll crash. And it says, but these are Marleybone people. They don't steal from each other. Yeah, that's the part that's confusing, except if they're not, like, they don't care about the company's money that they're running. They're sort of extracting it from the company. In other words, they can crash the company, have the company go bankrupt. They're still going to make their profits. That seems hard to believe, but maybe if you're president of the company, you don't care if the company goes bankrupt and pays too much, as long as you're paying it to yourself. Interesting, but not completely understandable. All right. I guess we should stop there. This has been a short session, 3 hours, but as we promised, and it feels a little less overwhelming. I feel like I'm ready to go more and read more, but maybe we should stick to our thing and call it a night here. Does everyone think? Time for a break anyway, so I think we should end it here. Let's end it here. We'll come back. I'll see you tomorrow at 11 p.m. We'll continue on day 3, finish up day 3. Maybe we'll think more about how they could be running a profit. But Megan reminds me of the other movie. I did mention it earlier in an earlier stream, but it's good to remind you. You now have 3 movies to watch for the end of our stream on Monday or whatever. You've got Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, you've got To Live and Die in LA, and you've got The Big Short. 3 amazing movies. Watch them. We'll discuss them eventually at the end of the stream on Monday or Tuesday. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks everyone for joining. A real pleasure. Great teamwork. One more night before New Year's, so I'll see you tomorrow.